Good evening, my name is Misty Colburn. Today I'm going to talk to you about sustainable food practices versus factory farming. Would you like to eat foods that were obtained in humane, eco-friendly methods, or would you rather eat foods that come from sources that devastate the planet and support animal cruelty? When you buy meat or produce from large national supermarket chains, H-E-B, Walmart, Kroger, you are most likely supporting factory farming. Factory farms are extremely large, corporate-owned farms that brutally abuse animals and wreak havoc on our environment that we live in. Factory farms also put local farmers, family farms, out of business, destroying those people's livelihoods. To be able to produce large amounts of foods cheaply, very cheaply, factory farms cram hundreds, if not thousands of animals into one tiny, very small area. This is very stressful and unnatural environment. Causes the animals become aggressive, they attack each other, and to combat this, factory farms seal chickens' beaks off to stop them from pecking each other. They also cut pigs' tails off and clip their teeth to prevent infections from them biting each other's tail, among a lot of other cruel practices. All of these procedures are performed without anesthesia for the animal, so it's painful for them, as you can imagine. As can be imagined, infection spreads like wildfire on these factory farms. As a preventative measure, farmers lace the animals' food and water supplies with antibiotics that do little to prevent diseases, but create antibiotic-resistant superbugs in the process that can spread to human population and native wild animal species such as the deer. To deal with such vast amounts of animal manure, the waste that these animals put off is pumped into lagoons that pollute the atmosphere and groundwater. These lagoons can leak into groundwater supplies and to our rivers, to our creeks, polluting our drinking water and killing off large amounts of fish and aquatic vegetation. Methane, which is produced by animal waste, is a greenhouse gas that contributes to global warming. When concentrated in such large amounts, this pollution devastates the atmosphere. To create grazing pastures for cattle, large amounts of trees are deforested every year, creating even more ozone-depleting gases in the form of carbon dioxide. Also, due to the high demands of sugar-laden foods and grains, crops such as corn and wheat are planted on a year-round basis on large tracts of land. This is called monocropping, and it strips the soil of all of its nutrients. To replace these lost nutrients to increase crop yields, synthetic fertilizers are used. These potent chemicals can make their way into our rivers, our groundwater supplies, killing our fish and contaminating our water sources. Factory farms are unethical, cruel institutions that pollute the environment as well as abusing animals. Many people are not aware of the dangers of factory farming and happily support them. People do not have to go vegan to help put an end to factory farming. You can do your part. There are many ways to enjoy a healthy, tasty, humane, and environmentally friendly diet without supporting the unethical and unsustainable practice of factory farming. Some of these methods include hunting and fishing, home gardening, and the support of local family farms. Hunting and fishing. Many people look down on the practice of hunting for subsistence, saying things such as hunting is cruel, go to the supermarket and get your meat like everybody else, or there's no need to hunt since the supermarkets have meat just readily on the shelf. Or they even go as far as calling hunters murderous monsters and issuing death threats. The sport of fishing doesn't garner quite as much hate, but it's still frowned upon by many people. Many of the people who hold these very simple opinions have a sort of a mental disconnect from the fact that the McDonald's cheeseburger that they're chowing down on was once an animal coming from a factory farm. Hunting and fishing is far superior to factory farming in every imaginable way. Factory farmed animals are bred and raised for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is food. They are fed out on grain to become extra fat, pumped full of antibiotics, and are killed and processed in mass slaughterhouses in questionable sanitary conditions. If you walked in a slaughterhouse, you would be appalled. Wild game, however, live a wild, natural lifestyle, eating lean, nutritious food sources and constantly evading predators. Wild game is killed by the hunter and almost immediately butchered, their cell, or taken to a game processor to be processed for a small fee. This is both healthier, more humane, and lots cheaper than buying factory farm meat from your local store. As I mentioned earlier, factory farming is terrible for our planet. Killing and eating wild game actually helps the planet, however. Deer, for instance, are starting to spread into human territory due to the loss of their habitat from urbanization. Without hunters, deer would begin to starve to death and intersect even further into human activities, causing automobile accidents and harming natural resources because of overgrazing. Hunting also keeps deer populations in check to prevent these things from happening. Also, revenue from hunting goes towards conservation efforts and creates jobs. Many species of animals have been brought back from the brink of extinction due to the conservation efforts of our state wildlife agencies, such as our Texas game wardens, and it's funded by the money that you pay to get your hunting and fishing license. Home gardening is a practice of planting and growing your own produce at home. Vegetables such as tomatoes, green beans, squash, and okra grow very well in small gardens and take a little effort besides the initial preparation and planting and watering every day and fertilizing about once a week. Obviously, people living in large metropolitan areas like New York City or Chicago can't grow a full-scale garden, but even a tomato plant planted in a 5-gallon bucket put by the windowsill in your apartment cannot only help save money on vegetables, but it also will take some of the strain off the need for large-scale factory farms, and you'll have fresh tomatoes in the process. Unless you're a very skilled hunter and fisherman and have a bright green thumb, which I don't, but I'm learning, most people aren't going to be able to kill and grow all their food themselves. This is where local family farms come into play. Purchasing meat from local butchers and buying fruits and vegetables from your local small farmers markets around the area, although slightly more expensive than your local Walmart, helps support local farmers and ranchers that are much more humane and environmentally friendly. They're everywhere. Family farms, roadside fruit stands, vegetable stands, and go check those out, because get some milk or get some eggs from a farmer and help out. The conclusion here is I'm not advocating that everybody hunt and fish and grow their own produce or buy all their produce and their food from local sources. That is both unreasonable and unforeseeable. However, if everybody pitched in and did something to help, did your part, whether it's killing a deer for meat, growing a garden, or something as simple as buying farm fresh eggs from a local farmer or milk from a local farmer or produce, it would reduce the need for factory farms greatly and help not only the environment but the animals that are being abused in corporate farming operations. Thank you.